this secret Nazi bunker was finally uncovered. And what researchers found inside was far more disturbing than anyone expected. Hidden weapons, forgotten tunnels, and eerie remains that rewrite what we thought we knew about World War II. Stay with me, because what's revealed in this video will change the way you see history forever. In this video, we're diving deep into history's hidden shadows. Together, we'll explore 10 of the most shocking Nazi bunkers ever discovered, from secret underground factories to long-forgotten tunnels filled with eerie remnants of the past. Let's begin our journey into the world beneath the war. Weingut I, the factory of desperation. In the dense forests near Mühldorf, Bavaria, the Nazis embarked on one of their most ambitious and brutal construction projects of the war. The underground factory, known by the code name Weingut I, conceived in 1944, when Allied air raids were crippling German industry, the plan was to move vital aircraft production beneath a roof of reinforced concrete. The goal was nothing less than mass production of jet engines for the Messerschmitt Me 262, the world's first operational jet fighter. The design was vast in scale, 12 immense arches of steel and concrete, each stretching hundreds of meters, were to cover a 9-story industrial complex hidden below. From here, the Luftwaffe hoped to regain the skies. But the project's promise came at a horrifying cost. Of the roughly 10,000 workers employed, nearly 8,500 were forced laborers and concentration camp prisoners. They toiled in hunger and exhaustion, beaten by guards, and exposed to brutal conditions. More than 3,000 perished before the work was abandoned. The Nazis imposed a deadline of only 6 months for completion, an impossible demand. When the war ended, just 7 arches stood partially finished. The factory itself had never taken shape. Not a single jet engine emerged from this colossal effort. Today, the skeletal ruins of Weingut I still stand in the forest. Crumbling and overgrown, they serve as a stark memorial. What was once envisioned as a technological triumph has become instead a silent testimony to desperation, cruelty, and wasted lives. It reminds us that behind every concrete wall lies a story of human suffering. Wolf's Lair, Hitler's fortress in the forest. Hidden deep within the Masurian forests of eastern Poland lies one of the most infamous military headquarters of the Second World War. The Wolf's Lair, built in 1940 and completed in 1941, it served as Adolf Hitler's main command post during the invasion of the Soviet Union. The location was chosen carefully. Dense woodland concealed it from the air, and camouflage netting and vegetation made the complex almost invisible to Allied reconnaissance. The scale was extraordinary. Spread across more than 6 square kilometers, the Wolf's Lair contained over 80 buildings, including massive bunkers of reinforced concrete, barracks, offices, and defensive positions. Around 2,000 soldiers, officers, and SS guards were stationed here. To protect the site, the Germans scattered an estimated 54,000 landmines across the surrounding area, turning the forest into a deadly fortress. It was here, on the 20th of July, 1944, that German officer Klaus von Stauffenberg attempted to kill Hitler with a hidden bomb in what became known as the July Plot. The explosion tore through the conference room, killing 4 men, but Hitler survived with only minor injuries. The failed attempt sealed the fate of the German resistance and reinforced the Wolf's Lair's reputation as a place both feared and untouchable. By late 1944, as Soviet forces advanced, the site was abandoned and partially destroyed by retreating German troops. After the war, the area was cleared of its landmines, though many of the massive bunkers remained. Today, the ruins are a major tourist destination, drawing hundreds of thousands each year. Walking among the crumbling walls, visitors are reminded not only of Nazi power, but also of the courage of those who once tried to end it. The Danish bunkers, time capsules in the sand. On the windswept beaches of Denmark, history slept beneath the dunes for more than 6 decades. In 2008, 2 boys digging in the sand stumbled upon something that would astonish archaeologists and historians alike: the entrance to a perfectly sealed Nazi bunker, untouched since the end of the war. Inside, the air was heavy and stale, but what they found was like stepping into a frozen moment of 1944. Beds with metal frames stood against the walls. Wooden tables still bore the scratches of hurried meals. Soldiers' socks lay where they had been thrown, never collected. There were rusty tins of food, treatment kits for mustard gas, and even soda bottles scattered across the floor. Perhaps most haunting of all were the stamps and documents, many still bearing Hitler's face. Everything suggested a sudden abandonment, as though the occupants had simply vanished overnight. During the occupation, Nazi Germany built more than 7,000 bunkers along Denmark's coastline, part of the vast Atlantic Wall designed to resist Allied invasion. Most were stripped, looted, or collapsed with time. To find one preserved so completely, with its wartime objects intact, was almost unheard of. The discovery caused a sensation. Local historians, collectors, and tourists poured in to see this eerie time capsule of the Third Reich. For many Danes, it was a reminder of how deeply the war had scarred their homeland, even in places that seemed quiet and ordinary. Today, the bunkers remain as silent memorials, cold concrete shells that once promised defense, now offering only echoes of a past that refuses to disappear. Fortress Mimoyekes, the supergun that never fired. Beneath the chalk hills of northern France, near the small village of Mimoyeks, the Nazis set out to build one of their most ambitious and terrifying weapons projects. Between 1943 and 1944, teams of engineers and forced laborers carved deep tunnels into the hillside. The goal was to create an underground battery for the V3 cannon, a so-called supergun designed to bombard London from 165 kilometers away. The design was as audacious as it was sinister. 5 steep shafts, each nearly 130 meters long, would house multiple barrels of the V3, capable of firing hundreds of explosive shells every hour. Winston Churchill himself later warned that if completed, the weapon might have unleashed one of the most devastating bombardments in history. Thousands of prisoners and laborers, many brought from concentration camps, were forced to dig and construct under appalling conditions. Hunger, exhaustion, and collapsing tunnels claimed many lives. But the Allies were watching. French resistance passed on intelligence, and in July 1944, the Royal Air Force launched devastating attacks using enormous tallboy bombs. The impacts tore through the underground chambers and made the project unworkable. When Canadian forces arrived in September, they found the site abandoned, its superguns never fired. Today, parts of Fortress Mimoyekes have been preserved as a museum. Walking through its silent tunnels, visitors are reminded of the terrible scale of Nazi ambition and the fragile line between technological triumph and catastrophic failure. It stands as both an engineering curiosity and a chilling reminder of what might have been had the weapon ever become operational. The Holgangsanlage tunnels, an underground world on Jersey. Far out in the Channel Islands, on the occupied island of Jersey, the Nazis built one of their most extensive underground fortresses, known as the Holgangsanlagen, literally corridor facilities. These tunnels were carved into soft rock beginning in 1941, after Hitler ordered the Channel Islands to become part of his Great Atlantic Wall. The work was entrusted to the organization TOT, infamous for its brutal efficiency. Thousands of prisoners of war, forced laborers, and political detainees were driven into the darkness each day, hacking through rock with primitive tools, often with little food or rest. The conditions were dreadful. Collapses were common, disease spread quickly, and the dead were quietly replaced by new arrivals. The tunnels were vast and versatile. Some were storage depots, linking bunkers across the island in a hidden network. Others served as shelters for troops and supplies. One of the most striking, Holgangsanlage 8, was transformed into a fully equipped underground hospital. It had beds, heating, ventilation, even an operating theater, all built at enormous human cost. And yet, despite this effort, the hospital was never used during the war. When Jersey was liberated on the 9th of May 1945, the tunnels were abandoned. For years, they gathered dust until parts of them were converted into museums, offering visitors a chilling glimpse of life under occupation. To walk through their damp corridors today is to feel the weight of the past pressing from the walls, the suffering of those forced to build them, and the fear of an island turned into a fortress. And so we come to the end of our journey through the forgotten bunkers of the Second World War. Each one tells a story, not just of concrete and steel, but of ambition, desperation, and above all, human suffering. These ruins are more than relics. They are warnings carved into the earth, reminders of what happens when power and cruelty are given free rein. If you found this exploration as fascinating as I did, don't let it end here. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Tell us which bunker struck you the most, or if there are other hidden sites you would like us to uncover. And if you want to keep traveling deeper into the shadows of history, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next story. History is all around us, buried in forests, hidden beneath cities, and waiting to be rediscovered. Stay curious, stay questioning, and join me again as we uncover more secrets from the past.